Hey, it's Gabe with API Nation. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can create a connection between mailparser.io to API Nation using our new Webhooks tool. Super easy. The first step is to sign up for mailparser.io. So you're going to go to mailparser.io. There's a lot of information here. You can take a look. They have some free accounts. You can see here in the pricing, they have a free one that's okay to use for 30 emails a month, which might work for you total, if that's about how many leads you're getting. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to click on use it for free. And I'm just going to go ahead and sign up with my name and my email address. And then just put in a little password. There we go, start free trial. And once we sign up, it says, cool, here's a lot of information, a nice video about how to set this up. You can watch that if you'd like. They're gonna ask you some information about you so that you can they can follow up with you later and see about adding you to a paid plan if you'd like. But this is the step we want. Create your first inbox. And an inbox in mailparser.io is where you're going to forward these leads to. So when you set up your form or when you're running your ads and it's asking you where should we send notifications about your leads to, where should we email, you're going to send them to this inbox. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to call this an API Nation test. But you're going to want to set it up for your particular lead source. So if you're getting them from Zillow, you're going to want to set this up as a Zillow box. If you're getting this from Realtor.com, you'll set it up as a Realtor.com box, and so on. You can select the category if you want and make notes to yourself exactly about what this inbox is for, who's sending information there. I'm going to hit save. And there you go. Now you'll see, okay, here is the email address. Send all your leads here. So I'm going to hit copy to clipboard just so I have it on my clipboard. But it's also saying we want to configure this thing. So can you forward a couple example of those lead emails you get? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've sent myself a couple leads here. I'm going to go over here to my email. So I have Gustav Holtz, and I'm just going to forward that on to that email address. Boop. And send. You can see I'm putting in that inbox with Tommy Callahan. I'm going to forward that one as well. Boop. There we go. So that's all it takes. Now I'm going to go back to MailParser. And you can see, great, it's working. We got your emails. Let's look at them. So I'm going to click on that. And it's going to take a good stab at pulling out the data based on what I've sent it. So you can see it's lining stuff up. It's highlighting the information it's going to pull out based on kind of a default category. It has different templates for how it pulls information out from different industries. But the default seems to work for me so far. So I'm going to go ahead and use that default template. And I'm going to hit start with this template. Yes, continue with default. Cool. And you can try different templates and see which one is most accurate to your lead source. But there we go. So I got both these emails. You can see one is already parsed and one is in the queue. So it's already pulled the information. And if I wanted, I could probably download it. Here's the downloads area. But now we're going to move on to step 2. So I've signed up for MailParser. It seems to be working. Now we are going to create a webhook on API Nation for this connection. So I'm going to go over to integrations. And I'm going to hit add new integration. Let me confirm my email real quick here. Okay. So I've confirmed it. I'm back in integrations, and I'm going to come on down here to generic webhook. And you can see I can set up a generic webhook, and I'm going to connect this to API Nation. So I'm going to give it a name, API Nation. Payload format is going to be JSON. That's perfect. And now it's going to ask me for my target URL. So I'm going to have to go to API Nation to grab that. So let's head on over there. So we're going to go to apination.com. Go ahead and sign into your API Nation account. So I'm going to click on that. If you don't have an API Nation account, you can get one. They're totally free. So I'm signed in here, and I'm going to go over to apps. And these are all the apps you can connect at API Nation. And I need the Webhooks tool. So I'm going to click here in the search bar and start typing Webhooks. There it is. So I'm going to click on that. And what I need to do here is to make a connection using Webhooks so that I could start syncing MailParser.io to any of these apps down here using Webhooks. So we're going to make a connection. Click on this Connections tab and hit Add an Account. All right, so we're going to configure this new webhook. You have two options here, inbound and outbound. We're receiving leads into this webhook. So I'm going to select inbound, and I'm going to label it Mail Parser and generate webhook. There it is. There's that URL. That's what we are here for. So I'm going to copy that, go back to mailparser.io, and paste it in there. So we have a name, payload is JSON. Here's the URL we just pulled from API Nation. All the rest of this stuff works. It looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save and test. Cool. It's going to go ahead and save it, and it's going to go ahead and start testing it. So it's going to send over some information we've already sent it using one of those two emails we forwarded to it. So I'm going to hit send test data. You can see there's the information. I'm going to go back to API Nation, and I'm going to hit the corresponding test webhook button here. And there's the information it sent over. Tommy Callahan, Callahan Auto Parts, everything I need for that lead. I'm going to hit finish. And now this mail parser connection is ready, up and running. So now we're on to our third step, activate the sync. So I'm going to connect this mail parser webhook to any of these apps. I'm actually going to connect it to Google Contacts and Google Sheets here. So I'm going to hit Google Contacts. It's opened up in a new tab. I'm going to do the same thing with Google Sheets. Let's go over to Google Contacts. And I want webhooks to create contacts in my Google Contacts. And this will work with any of those CRMs you saw on that last page. This is kind of what it'll look like. I'll hit activate for this. It's going to go through a quick guided setup. Which webhook do you want to use? The mail parser. And then it's going to say, all right, which Google Contacts account do you want to use? I'm going to use this one. And then do you want to put it in a special folder? Totally up to you. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a new folder called mailparser.io. Or you could call it leads from, this particular lead source, wherever you're sending those leads to MailParser. Hit subscribe. All right. We're going to do a final check here. I'm going to come down here to mapping. This is the most important part probably. You can see first name is pulling to first name. Last name is pulling to last name. I can hit this plus sign, and it's going to offer me all the fields from that parser. There's phone. I'm going to go ahead and put phone in there. It looks like I have email. I'm going to go ahead and put email in there. I think that is about it. Let's see what else. Date, email, phone. Oh, it looks like we have company and notes. So I'm going to come down here to company. It looks like it already pulled it in there. Great. And now we'll go over here to notes, and I will put notes in here. I'm going to say, there we go. Cool. This looks good. I'm going to go to the top and activate this sync. And that's it. Now the webhook is set up. So as soon as the lead comes into mailparser.io, it's going to go into Google Contacts. I'm going to set up a similar thing with Google Sheets. So I can have a spreadsheet full of all those leads. I'm going to activate this one, webhooks to Google Sheets. Again, very simple. Select both those accounts. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to name it leads from mailparser.io and subscribe. Once I do that, it's going to do a final check. Nice thing about Google Sheets syncs, everything just maps for you because we're just going to pull over all that information into different columns in your spreadsheet. This looks good. I'm going to activate this sync. And that's it. Now these are both working. Let's go ahead and send a test lead over. So I'm going to go over to my lead form. Come on down here. This is my form. This is kind of what I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and just submit my own name here. So Gabe Hagstrom. Gabe test at example.com 480-555-99 company API Nation. This is a test. Perfect. Go ahead and submit this. And then here it is in my email. And there's a couple things you could do. You can set up a rule in your email so that anything that comes with this subject automatically forwards on to that mailparser.io inbox. That's one option. That's pretty easy to do in Google emails, and it's pretty easy to do in a lot of emails. Or you can change your form so your form automatically submits to your mail parser email. Either way will work. I'm just going to go ahead and manually forward this on just to test it. There we go. So we've forwarded it on. Let's go check in mail parser. You can see it says it's had 2 emails so far. We should see a new one come over here pretty soon in the parsing queue. I'll go ahead and refresh this. Oh, it went already into parse and dispatched. So it already came through. Now let's go ahead and look over at Google Contacts and Google Sheets. Boop. So here's that Google Contacts. Let's go ahead and refresh. And there we go. We now have 12 contacts. Let's scroll on down. There's Gabe Hackstrom, Gabe test at example.com from API Nation, and it's labeled with mailparser.io. Let's go over to Google Sheets. And here's that spreadsheet. It's in my Google Drive, and here's all that information from MailParser, including the fields and some additional information like when it was received, when it was processed, and so on. So there we go. Now, anytime a lead comes through, using the Webhooks tool at API Nation, MailParser will go ahead and forward it on to Google Contacts, Google Sheets, or really any of these apps that works with our new Webhook tool. These CRMs, these marketing tools, they can all be hooked up to mailparser.io now.